Every forgotten WNBA MVP explained. In 1997, Cynthia Cooper scores 22.2 points per game at age 34 and becomes the first ever WNBA MVP. She's also a Finals MVP, twice. But while her name starts the league's trophy history, her legacy gets overshadowed by flashier names, younger stars, and marketing shifts toward the future of the league. This is the pattern: greatness, then silence. Because every WNBA MVP isn't remembered equally. Some are spotlight legends, others are historical ghosts. So today, we explain every forgotten WNBA MVP, the players who dominated statistically but faded from the mainstream. 2001. Lisa Leslie's first MVP and the overlooked defensive anchor. Lisa Leslie's 2001 MVP comes with 19.5 points, 9.6 rebounds, and 2.3 blocks per game. The Sparks win 28 games and dominate the West. But people forget this MVP because it's too balanced. No record-breaking scoring, no buzzer-beater playoff moment. What it does include is a defensive season that forces the WNBA to rethink what a center can do: switch out, recover, protect the rim, and anchor a title team. Leslie's MVP sets the stage for the Sparks' back-to-back titles. But in highlight reels, she's mostly remembered for her dunk, not her MVP-level impact in 2001. 2002. Cheryl Swoops wins with style, but Cooper's shadow still looms. Swoops averages 18.5 points, 4.9 rebounds, and 3.6 assists while leading Houston to a 24-8 record. She's a two-way force, playing 34 minutes per game, top 3 in both scoring and steals. But her MVP season is often skipped over because she shares the same franchise and legacy space as Cynthia Cooper. Cooper retires and Swoops steps in as the face, yet fans tend to lump their greatness together instead of viewing them as distinct dynasties. This MVP, though, proves Swoops isn't just a second act. She is the Comets by 2002. She puts up 18.6 points, 4.3 assists, and 1.9 steals per game for a Houston team that wasn't supposed to contend. Why it's forgotten? The Comets fade from prominence that same year. The team dissolves just 3 seasons later. So even though Swoops is arguably the most complete player in the league, offense, defense, leadership, her second MVP becomes a historical footnote as her team disappears. 2007. Lauren Jackson dominates, but injuries cloud the aftermath. Jackson posts 23.8 points per game, 9.7 rebounds, 2.0 blocks, and hits 46% from 3. She's a stretch-forward alien ahead of her time. Seattle finishes mid-tier, but Jackson is so statistically dominant, voters can't ignore her. Yet, most fans recall Jackson's 2004 title more than her MVP in 2007. Why? Because shortly after this peak, injuries derail her prime. This MVP gets buried under what could have been narratives, even though she was still the most feared scorer on the planet that year. 2009. Diana Taurasi's MVP comes without the fanfare. Taurasi averages 20.4 points, 3.5 rebounds, 3.5 assists, while shooting 40% from deep. Phoenix runs a 7 seconds or less offense, leading the league in pace and offensive rating. They win the title. Taurasi wins Finals MVP and regular season MVP. So why does it feel forgotten? Because Taurasi's entire brand is legacy. Her longevity, her Olympic medals, her scoring title in 2017. Her 2009 MVP gets lost in a career full of moments. It's not that people don't remember it, it's that they lump it into her greatness, without remembering how historic that specific year was. 2010, Lauren Jackson's second MVP, peak power, minimal spotlight. This version of Jackson is even more dominant than 2007. She posts 20.5 points, 8.3 rebounds, 1.2 steals, 1.2 blocks, and carries the Storm to a 28-6 record. Seattle goes 7-0 in the playoffs. Jackson wins Finals MVP again. But the MVP isn't tied to any viral moment or controversial rivalry. It's surgical greatness. And once injuries mount in 2011-2012, the WNBA narrative shifts to younger stars like Maya Moore and Brittany Griner. Therefore, 2010 becomes Jackson's lost masterpiece. 2012, Tina Charles wins for the Sun and gets forgotten with them. Tina Charles averages 18.0 points, 10.5 rebounds, and 1.4 blocks per game. She leads Connecticut to the best record in the East. She becomes the youngest player ever to average a double-double in a season. But the Suns' brand is weak. They never make the finals. By 2014, Charles is traded. Because there's no postseason signature moment tied to this MVP, and because Connecticut lacks media buzz, the 2012 MVP gets lost in time, even though it's one of the most efficient big seasons in league history. 2014, Maya Moore's MVP lost behind her championship. Moore puts up 23.9 points per game, the second highest single-season scoring average at that time. She leads Minnesota to a 25-9 record and finishes top 5 in steals, PER, and win shares. She's arguably the best two-way player in basketball. So why is this MVP forgotten? Because Maya Moore's titles dominate the conversation. Her 4 WNBA championships, and her 2019 Elena Delle Donne, again a 50-40-90 season hidden in plain sight. Only one WNBA player has ever joined the exclusive 50-40-90 club, FG%, 3PT, FT%, while averaging 19.5 points. That player is Elena Delle Donne in 2019. She leads the Mystics to a 26-8 record and their first ever championship. But people mostly remember that title, not the absurd shooting numbers, not the fact she did it with a herniated disc, because she shares the moment with Emma Meesman's Finals MVP. Delle Donne's 2019 MVP becomes a co-starring role, even though it's one of the greatest efficiency seasons in league history. 2020, A'ja Wilson, MVP in the bubble, gets buried by circumstance. In the 2020 Wubble season, Wilson averages 20.5 points, 8.5 rebounds, and 2.0 blocks. The Aces go 18-4, and she anchors both ends of the floor. But no fans are in the stands. The pandemic disrupts everything. There's no real media tour, no post-game parades, no fanfare. Therefore, Wilson's first MVP becomes the silent one. It proves her value, but it's always cited as the one before the 2023 title. 2021, Jonquel Jones, a MVP without a market. Jones averages 19.4 points, 11.2 rebounds, and 1.3 blocks. She shoots 51% from the field and 36% from deep. She does it for Connecticut, again. And again, the Sun fail to reach the finals. Jones is a matchup nightmare, 6'6" with perimeter skills, but she plays in a small market with minimal media exposure. That makes this MVP historically invisible. She later moves to New York in 2023, but her MVP is rarely discussed, overshadowed by Sabrina Ionescu and Breanna Stewart headlines. 2022, A'ja Wilson, again, overshadowed by her own growth. Wilson averages 19.5 points, 9.4 rebounds, 2.1 blocks, wins Defensive Player of the Year, and leads the Aces to a title. She is, without question, the best player in the league. But in 2022, the narrative centers on Becky Hammon's coaching, Kelsey Plum's rise, and Chelsea Gray's playoff heroics. Even with a championship, Wilson's MVP feels shared, like it belongs to the team more than her. That dilutes the spotlight, even if the numbers say she was the anchor of everything. Conclusion: why these MVPs deserve a second look. Each forgotten MVP tells a story, not of hype, but of impact. Lisa Leslie's interior dominance, Tina Charles's quiet double-doubles, Fowles' unshakable defense, Delle Donne's impossible efficiency, Lauren Jackson's peak before injuries, Jonquel Jones doing it all without attention. Because in a league, often judged by highlight clips and post-championship parades, these MVPs prove that numbers, consistency, and value don't always earn legacy status.